Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham, and happy Hard Knocks Eve, as the first episode will take place tomorrow night. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for another week of Bears practice at Hallis Hall. They're off today, but we'll be back out there tomorrow. So plenty to dive into here on Chicago Bears Now. Shout out your city. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We got Cullen Brown in the building as well. And a lot of Brandon Ayuk trade chatter around the NFL, Cullen. We'll see if the 49ers decide to move on from him.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be anything that directly impacts the Bears per se, but it could be indirectly.
If he gets out of the NFC, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, you have to think, right? The three top teams to potentially trade for Ayuk would be Steelers, Commanders, Patriots. I mean, any one of those teams he goes to.
Browns have been mentioned with some kind of Amari Cooper swap.
So,
yeah. A lot of Steelers chatter today. Maybe our good pal Justin Fields gets himself a new weapon if he ends up winning the job out there. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We got the Big Ed in Las Vegas, Southside Chicago from Steve, Dre in Jacksonville, Iverson in Jacksonville as well. Paul Anderson says Connor Williams to Seattle. Yeah, we're still going to talk Connor Williams today, but sounds like that's gaining momentum. But until it's done, I'd be trying to make a push for him if I was the Bears. So still going to talk about it. Trump in Tampa, Malcolm in the Villages, Bob in Palm Bay, Florida, Daniel in Mount Vernon, Illinois, Bruce in Montreal. We got Markel in H-Town, Sid B in Valparaiso, Lynn Boyd, Lead Hill. We got Andrew in Oklahoma, Cinematic in Orlando. So continue to shout out your city. Got Eli in Aurora as well. And who's excited for Hard Knocks, man? I can't wait. The Giants Hard Knocks kind of got me back in on Hard Knocks. It was way better than I thought it would be. And I think the Bears just are going to be such an interesting team this year that I, for one, can't wait to watch this, Cullen.
Oh, yeah. Selfishly, I'm going to be making sure I try to tune in as well. I mean, there's so many storylines with this team. Obviously, you've got Caleb Williams, rookie quarterback, coming in there. Great receiving trio, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze. So, and there's a lot of characters around this team too. We'll get to, or at least I think the national NFL landscape is going to get to know the Bears a little bit better, and for good reason, man, because I think this Bears team's on the come up, and it's going to be a good one, man. Can't wait.
Yeah, what's up, Andy? Josue Sammy, Tyler, Alexander, James, Christian. We got Trump in there as well. Cinematic in there. Chicago Bears report saying me. I'm excited. I mean, I think Hard Knocks in recent years hasn't been as good, but like I said, the offseason Giants one kind of got me back in, and I think part of the issue in recent years, there hadn't been that many entertaining teams. Like the last really interesting one was the Raiders with all the AB drama and stuff. So I think this is going to be pretty good. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. Shout out to Game Time. If you want to go check out the Chicago Bears, go do it with Game Time. The best ticketing app out there. You can get tickets to a Bears preseason game, a Cubs game, White Sox. They actually play each other this week. Use code ChatSports when you download the Game Time app and create your account to get $20 off your first purchase only. Take advantage of that deal. Terms do apply. A lot of concerts coming to your city, whether you're in Chicago or elsewhere. If you're into comedy events, basically anything you have to buy a ticket for, you're probably going to have to do it online. So why not do it with the best app available, Game Time, and take advantage of our code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase only. I love using the Game Time app. Went to the Home Run Derby a few weeks ago, bought tickets the day of the event. And I'll tell you what, it's a derby I'll never forget because I may have heard the worst rendition of the national anthem that's ever been sung, but that's neither here nor there. Go check it out. Game Time. Download the app, create an account. Code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase only. Cubbies, White Sox, Bears, Bulls, and Blackhawks when they get back going as well. Comedy, theater events, concerts. It's all available. Game Time. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. All right, we got Lucas Prang. He said, I've been very optimistic up to this point, but I genuinely think this season could go very badly if the O-line doesn't figure it out. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean, very badly. I don't want to go there. I mean, obviously, if Caleb Williams got hurt or something because of the O-line, then yes. But, yeah, knock on wood. Appreciate it, Colin. But, yeah, I mean, I do have concerns about the offensive line, and we're going to get into all of that here in a few minutes. Tito, is the O-line really in that bad of shape? I keep hearing mixed report. Tevin's down, a right shoulder, and Davis just being Davis. Overreactions, maybe. I mean, we're kind of entering year 2 of Nate Davis just being kind of, I don't know, flake, injury prone. We know Tevin's injury prone. He's a really good player, but we know he can get banged up. I'm not super concerned about Darnell Wright. He played through some stuff last year, all 17 games. I think Braxton Jones is at least solid at left tackle. But that interior, I do have some questions about the interior, man. I just, I don't know. I don't think the center situation is ideal. I think it's better than last year, but that's not saying a ton either. So just gotta see how it plays out. All right, do you guys want me to go live after Hard Knocks tomorrow night? Y for yes and for no. Go vote on the live poll. I'll get some shout-outs too. My thought is that I will go live from my house after the episode, so just kind of webcam style. I'm not going to have all the graphics and stuff, but just kind of get into some reactions, some takeaways from the first episode of Hard Knocks. I think it could be really good. And I'm excited to break it all down with you guys. If you're not into it, if you're not going to tune in, I don't want to go live and 20 people be watching. But if you guys are trying to do a little Bears now after dark, then we can do it. Christian, Edward, Dre, Trump all saying yes. M says no. Steve and SB say yes. So if you guys are in, I'm in. Malcolm, Laquan saying yes. Joshua saying yes. We got Monty, Corey saying yes. Daniel saying yes. All right. I think there's enough yeses in there. We'll probably do it. Just be sure to have those notifications turned on after you're subscribed because you'll know when we go live because we won't know how long the episode is until it drops on HBO. So what I'll probably plan to do is be live as fast as possible after the episode ends. So let's say it's from 8 Central to 8:45, at least be live by 9, if not sooner. So be on the lookout. We'll try and make that happen for you guys. All right, hit that like button if you love the Bears. Like this video. Let's get today's video popping. Only got 28 likes, 240 people watching. Let's get those numbers way up. We should be able to get to 100+ likes. That would still be less than 50% of the people watching. So hit that like button. Well, yeah, that's the plan, Tito. Live after the episode. Not during the episode, after the episode. So, we all watch it at home, and then we go live and break it all down. Get your comments, your thoughts, etc. So, on here, Cinematic. On YouTube, that would be the plan. So, if you guys are interested in that, then I think we're going to do that. All right, let's hit the super chat real quick, Cullen, and then we will dive into or let you guys know what's coming up on today's show. Kofel, I'm very excited for the season. Jumping onto the O-line convo here. I have higher hopes for next year as I think we will invest more in the O-line. Yeah, I mean, you would think next year that would be a big emphasis, using more resources there. But I also, I'm thinking about this year. I'm trying to be competitive this year. So we'll see. I'm acknowledging this isn't going to be an elite unit, but can it be average? That's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see how it plays out. Okay, here's what's coming up. The latest Bears news and rumors here in just a few moments. Little O-line talk, little Connor Williams, Yannick Ngakoue discussion as well. The Bears released their latest unofficial depth chart leading into the Bills preseason game. Have some takeaways from that. And then some NFL news that helps Chicago out. We'll dive into that as well. So all that coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. Should the Chicago Bears sign this man, Connor Williams, who's reportedly negotiating with Seattle, but that deal is not done, and until it is, I'm interested if I'm the Bears. We're going to talk about it. Yes or no, let me know in the comments, considering the Bears' offensive line is having issues. Some injuries have popped up. Do you want Connor Williams, yes or no? Let's dive on into Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's get into the Bears' offensive line issues here as some injuries have started to pop up. Nate Davis has missed a good chunk of training camp, although he returned in a limited capacity on Sunday. Darnell Wright has missed the last few practices. Tevin Jenkins left Sunday's practice as well. The center position hasn't been great, and just reports out of Hallis Hall from some of these practices, especially when you get some of the backups in there, it's just like, it hasn't held up that well, if we're being completely honest. And look, that's what I try to do on this show. I try to be honest. I try to give you my objective opinion as much as I can, and I'm concerned at this point. I do have concerns. Now, am I concerned that this is going to be a bottom 3 unit in the NFL or something like that? No, I think when fully healthy, this can be a top 20 unit, but I don't know if top 10 is even a possibility. And, I think you'd be happy with league average at this point, which I think you were hoping it would be a little better than that, but I'm not super optimistic that'll be the case. Still have over a month until the regular season, so certainly that can change. But you just look at this with the center situation, Bates and Shelton, there's been mixed reviews out of those guys. Nate Davis hasn't been out there a ton. Darnell Wright has missed some time, and when he has been out there, Montez Sweat has been cooking him, which Sweat's awesome, but you're hoping Wright takes that next step. I love Tevin, but he's been banged up and has a history there. So, you start adding these concerns up with the offensive line. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. At this point in time, Nate Davis is unreliable. If he goes out there and plays most of the season and plays well, hey, that's great. But if I'm a betting man, would I bet on that? Probably not. Like, I don't think you could have a lot of confidence that would be the case. Center is a question mark at best. Again, I think it's better than last year, but it was a disaster last year. So, like, better than a disaster doesn't equal good. Can you get top 18 center play with Coleman Shelton and or Ryan Bates? I hope so. Am I banking on it at this point? There's been some snap issues yet again in practice, pre-snap penalties. That hasn't been ideal. Tevin Jenkins' injury history, got banged up in some capacity, it appears, on Sunday. So that's always going to be lurking over your head throughout this season. And I think the offensive tackles of Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright are solid, but they're still young players. And if those are like the two guys that you're kind of having your highest hopes on, other than a healthy Tevin, that's not great either. So I say all this, and I'm kind of like, why not bring in Connor Williams, even if you're not going to sign him, just to kind of check him out, right? Because that's kind of what Seattle has done, is he recently visited the Seahawks, and it sounded like they were going to sign him, then it was quiet, and now again today it's popped back up that in the next 2 to 3 days they could work out a contract there. So certainly discussions are ongoing between Williams and the Seahawks. But until that deal is done, I'm interested if I'm the Bears. Now, we're unclear on his recovery timetable. He did tear his ACL last season. Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, said in July that he would be ready for week 1. Who knows if that's the case? I would think if Seattle's signing him, they feel good about his chances being ready at least early in the year, if not by week 1. All I know is this, is that when he was healthy last year, and the year before, frankly, for the Dolphins, he was one of the better centers in the NFL. Second highest graded center by PFF last season. And again, even if he was like the 12th best center, that's better than what you got now. Like, why not bring him to Hallis Hall at least, do some kind of a medical check, and just see what's up with Connor Williams? What is the downside? You don't sign him? Who cares? You don't have him right now. Now, maybe he's too far down the road with Seattle at this point, but until that deal is signed, I'm interested if I'm Ryan Poles. I don't get the sense that they are interested. I think they want Ryan Bates to be their center, which is why they've pursued him for a couple of years. He hasn't played the position that much. There's been some snap concerns, it sounds like, at practice. Coleman Shelton is serviceable, but there's a reason he signed for, I think, just over the vet minimum here. It's not like he's an outstanding player. I don't know, man. I just look at this and I'm like, Connor Williams would maybe be your best interior player if healthy. Why not give him a look? What do you guys think? Should the Bears sign Connor Williams? We asked you to start this video. We're asking you again. Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Let me know down in the comment section below. Should the Bears sign Connor Williams? All right, coming up next, Yannick Ngakoue. Is he still on the Bears' radar as a potential free agent pass rusher addition? We'll dive into that here in just a moment. But do you guys want to go to a Bears game this year? And do you want to get the best price available and potentially at the last minute? Maybe you're a spur of the moment guy. Well, Game Time is the place to go. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time, and what they specialize is last minute tickets for the lowest price guaranteed. And what you need to do is download the Game Time app, use code ChatSports after you create your account to get $20 off your first ticketing purchase. For your first purchase only. Should mention that. Terms apply as well. Listen, you got to get out of your house. You got to get out and about and do things. Cubs games, White Sox, they actually play each other this week. What Game Time does as well is when you're surfing on their app for tickets, you're going to get exact photos of vantage points in arenas, in stadiums, etc., of where your seats will be. There's nothing worse than getting to a venue and A, not knowing where the hell to go, and B, when you get to your seats, like, oh, this seat sucks, the obstruction is bad, or I thought I was closer, or whatever the case may be. They're going to have those photo shots for you. That way, before you buy your ticket, you're like, oh, okay, I like this seat, or I don't like that seat. Going to buy a different one. Game Time's got you covered in that regard. They have flash deals, zone deals at the last minute because they want to get butts in seats for these events. Just trust me. It's very easy to use. The app is user-friendly, and the deal for you guys is awesome. $20 off your first purchase only. Terms apply with code CHATSPORTS. So if you're looking to go to a sporting event, a concert, a comedy show, or anything else where you need to buy a ticket, do it with Game Time. Link will be in the comments and in the description. Click and download the app today and create that account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, let's get to the latest on Yannick Ngakoue. He does remain unsigned in NFL free agency at this point in time. The veteran pass rusher did visit the Dolphins and Panthers recently. Remember, he visited with Emmanuel Ogbah in Miami. They opted to sign Ogbah. He visited with Carolina as well. They went in a different direction. So, take that for what it's worth. That's certainly not insignificant. Now, it's possible those teams offered Ngakoue something. He turned him down. Who knows? But Albert Breer did bring his name back up when talking about the Bears in a little Bears training camp breakdown that he did earlier on Monday. He said they did have Yannick Ngakoue last year, and if the price came down a bit on him, he could help as a pass rush specialist for a group that could use a little more juice. My guess is that they'll want to see young guys like Booker in a preseason game or two, at least, before moving on something like that. And speaking of which, I do think Austin Booker showed some juice against the Houston Texans in the Hall of Fame game. Now, it's one game. It's against backups. Can he do it again against Buffalo or Cincinnati? We'll see if those teams play some of their starters. But look at how PFF graded him out over 23 snaps. I would say this checks out. Kind of a mixed bag, right? Like, I thought he definitely looked more comfortable as a pass rusher than a run defender. A lot of the run plays, he was kind of just running with the like a chicken with his head cut off, kind of like, I'm running hard, but not really going anywhere. He had one pressure, but I thought he had 3 good pass rush reps. Like, he collapsed the pocket once, which led to a forced fumble, and he had a couple more reps where he was just a little late in getting to the quarterback, but that wasn't really any shortcoming of his. It was more of the quarterback got the ball out. Like, you watch him play, and it's like, okay, this guy is raw, but he has a motor and he has good power. Like, he plays with good power. He's a good athlete. You can see the potential there. Now, through 23 snaps in one preseason game, have I seen enough to think he can be a number 2 or number 3 edge right away? That feels a little rich to me. And I mean, obviously he's going to be on the 53, and I think he'll get some opportunities, but I wouldn't put him ahead of DeMarcus Walker. If Jake Martin is healthy, I'd probably have Martin ahead of him as well. So he'd probably be your 4th guy right now. Martin has been banged up, so door's a little open there. But even if those guys are healthy, like Jake Martin, like this D-line has questions. Let's just be honest. Like, Montez Sweat is awesome. He's had a great camp. We know what he's about. That's not a concern. Javon Dexter's had a very good camp, and I'm excited to see him play in a preseason game, but it's still a projection to see how well he's going to play this year. I'm hopeful DeMarcus Walker plays a little bit better in year 2 in his 3-year contract than he did last year. He said a couple weeks ago he played at about 75% a year ago. So, maybe he was banged up and that led to a dip in production. But even if he's at his peak self, his best version of himself is as like a heavy rotation move around guy. Play some 3-tech, play some edge. I still would like to add someone to the mix. Now, I don't think Ngakoue is perfect. I don't think he played great last year. In fact, I know he didn't. But I thought he started to show a little more once Sweat got on board. 2 of his 4 sacks were with Montez Sweat. I thought he flashed a little more with him. If that price does come down, like Breer says, and is cheap, $2, $3, $4 million, like I would do that. Do the Bears want to? That remains to be seen. But I do think that this defensive line could use all the help it can get at this point in time. Do you guys want to bring back Ngakoue? Let me know. Type S for sign, type P for pass. If it's cheap, I'm in. I don't want to give him $8 million, but $3 million, incentives up to 5 or something like that. I would probably be on board with that. S for sign, P for pass. Let me know what you guys think. We'll be live for every single Bears game this season, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll be live every game day. That includes the preseason, just like we were for the Hall of Fame game, pregame show before, full watch party, and then postgame after. Doing it all here on Bears Now, and of course, our daily content that we always do. So hit that subscribe button and keep us locked in. All right, did want to get to some injury notes. No practice on Monday, but these 12 players did not practice on Sunday. Kyler Gordon still dealing with some sort of issue, as is Tyreek Stevenson. Jaquan Brisker did not practice, so you're already at 3 starters right there in the secondary. Noah Sewell, who's been kind of in and out for the Bears, he wasn't out there. Montez Sweat had something pop up recently. He didn't practice. Neither did Jacob Martin, as he suffered some sort of a foot issue during the first week of training camp. Darnell Wright has missed the last few practices. Tevin Jenkins left early in Sunday's practice. Still unclear what that's about, but he missed the bulk of work, so I want to mention him here. Andrew Billings didn't practice. That's a notable one because defensive tackle's pretty thin right now. Theo Benedette didn't practice. UDFA offensive lineman. Ian Wheeler, UDFA running back. And then Patrick Scales, the long snapper. Not really that concerned about that one. And I think in general, I think we would know if some of these were serious, and at this point, it doesn't seem like they are. I do want to mention as well, Nate Davis did return for individual drills, but then he took off his pads and was done with practice after that. So, again, I don't know if that's part of the plan where they're going to ramp him back up or if something flared up on him. I'm not sure. Again, none of the injuries seem serious. Flus, is hopeful some of these guys come back soon, his own words, but at the same time, it's adding up a bit, and I get part of that's just training camp. It's this time of year. Guys are working back into the swing of things, but listen, that offensive line in particular, that's the position group I'm concerned about as you enter this season. Follow me on Instagram at HGramNFL, where we have more content over there around your Chicago Bears. So go ahead and give me a follow. It's at HGramNFL over on Instagram. All right, you guys want Ngakoue back? S for sign, P for pass. Josue and James, Shaw all saying pass. S for sign, P for pass. T Miles saying pass. Kind of a mixed bag. Dre Day says sign. Ridiculous pass. Sign for 2.5. Yeah, I mean, if it was cheap like that, what do you have to lose? Like, give him a couple $1 million. Even if he doesn't make the team, who cares? What's up?
I was just going to ask, what would you need to see from the other Bears edge rushers to potentially say we're good and not sign Yannick Ngakoue? I'm just curious.
I just don't even know if it's kind of twofold. One, I don't expect big things from Ngakoue if you sign him. I just think it at least raises the floor. It gives you another option. But I also, on the flip side, I don't really know what I could see in a preseason game from any of these guys that would maybe be like, yeah, you're good with what you have. I mean, I think kind of the thought from Poles and his staff is like, okay, if we don't think there's a ton left there, even if we don't love what we have, let's just get to the trade deadline, see if these guys show something early, then maybe we pull the trigger on another trade or something like that. So, does Matt Judon really become available, and is the price reasonable there? Maybe you go in that direction, but it's there's not a ton of great options right now. This is an interesting idea. We'll hit this in the mailbag as well, Colin. Could we trade for DeMarcus Lawrence? I'd be shocked. He's been a Cowboy his entire career. his last contract, he took a discount with Dallas. He really likes playing for the Cowboys. That feels like a deadline type of deal if Dallas is having a disastrous season. And they're just like, all right, let's get something for D-Law, who's in the final year of his contract. Looking at it now, his cap hit, if you traded for him, is just $10 million. So, I mean, they could certainly absorb that. I would love that. Excellent run stopper, solid pass rusher. He's kind of just like a older Montez Sweat. Like, he's more known as a run stopper, but he's a good rusher as well. I mean, you'd have an excellent run-stopping edge pairing that can both rush the passer as well. So I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it. But appreciate the question, Noah. I forgot. No,
I'm about to say
there's not. Yeah, no mailbag today. Sorry, guys. We'll answer your super chats, but we're not doing a full segment. Misspoke there. We'll take some questions on Hard Knocks Live tomorrow night, though. If you guys want to chop it up. Let me see here. All right, let's get to our next segment, which is the Bears released their latest depth chart. Just some reaction, some takeaways. Things stood out to me from that. 5 things I'm going to dive into. So we'll do that coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. Here's what we got coming up on Chicago Bears Now. The Bears released their latest unofficial depth chart heading into the Bills preseason game coming up on Saturday. And I have some reaction and some takeaways that I thought stood out to me. So we're going to get into those. Now, do want you to keep in mind, this is unofficial. It's very possible the Bears have put no effort into these whatsoever. But that doesn't mean they haven't put effort into them. Doesn't mean there aren't little tidbits in there, but I don't think this is gospel by any means, so keep that in mind as we go through this exercise. All right, number 1, is the stock down on Josh Blackwell? Because one of the first things that stood out to me when going through position by position is that he was listed as the 3rd nickel, not even the backup nickel. Kyler Gordon, starter, Greg Stroman Jr., the number 2 nickel, and then Josh Blackwell, the 3rd nickel. Now, it's an interesting dynamic because I do think Stroman is a better cover corner than Josh Blackwell. I thought the game he played against Washington last year was really good. But Blackwell's been a core special teamer, and if you're a backup DB, you got to be able to play on special teams. Not saying Stroman can't, but I know for a fact they like Blackwell as a gunner. And this has kind of been our depth chart. I've had Blackwell as the backup nickel. Stroman is kind of that CB7 type who could play nickel and outside. You look at this with Reddy Stewart and Leon Jones emerging in training camp as 2 UDFAs. We talked about it as potential cut candidates. Could Jalen Jones and Josh Blackwell be in trouble? Because this is the deepest position group on this team. I think you've got 7, 8, 9 guys that are at least practice squad worthy players, and most of them worthy of being on a team's 53-man roster. Now, obviously, the Bears aren't going to carry 8 or 9 corners. Could they go heavy, though, and keep 7? I wouldn't keep that off the table, especially if they go lighter at a couple of other positions. So it's a good group. I think Blackwell being listed behind Stroman is noteworthy, if nothing else. Again, it's unofficial, but that's certainly something that caught my attention. All right, guys, we are less than 400 subscribers from 96,000 here on Bears Now. Football is back. We're publishing daily content. Would love to get to 96K by the Bills game on Saturday. So hit that sub button if you love the Chicago Bears. What we do here is publish free content for you guys. So if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and subscribe. All right, number 2, and I think this is in combination with what we saw in the Hall of Fame game. I do think this RB2 battle is real. It's listed as Herbert or Johnson as the RB2. So if you've ever looked at a depth chart before, if it says player or player, that indicates there's at least some level of a competition, usually. And it's interesting, Herbert's listed first, but then Roschon Johnson started in the Hall of Fame game over Khalil Herbert. So I'll be curious to see, especially since Herbert, I thought, ran better in that game. The numbers bear that out. Does that flip against Buffalo? Does Herbert get the first crack after DeAndre Swift in this second preseason game? We'll have to wait and see on that front. I think my take is this. I think the Bears would like Roschon to win this battle because this regime took him in the 4th round last year. They love his character. He's a better pass blocker and receiving back than Khalil Herbert, at least in theory, but I think skill set wise too. But I think it's pretty clear that Khalil Herbert, especially when healthy, which he looks back and healthy now after the ankle sprain last year, he's the better runner, especially in this system. We saw it last year when he was healthy. I think in the preseason opener, it showed he still has that juice. Whereas Roschon's a good runner, but like he doesn't have as much wiggle and burst, in my opinion, as Herbert does. Question is, do his strengths that he does have outweigh Herbert's ability as a better pure runner? It's a fair question, and I think that's going to continue to play out as they evaluate this competition. Who do you guys think is the better running back? Like, if you had to pick one guy, who would you take? Type KH for Khalil Herbert or RJ for Roschon Johnson. Give us your thoughts down below. And I think at this point in time, I do think Herbert's the better back. I think something would have to shift, I don't want to say dramatically, but at least somewhat significantly for Herbert to just get moved on from by this team, because you watch him run, it's like, man, the kid sees hits the hole hard, man. Bonk for you teenagers at home, but he identifies the lane and he hits it, and he's better in open space. So, and it's not like he's a soft runner either. Like, he'll play through contact, maybe not to the level of Roschon, but that's going to be fascinating. Still a lot of time for that to play out, but I do think it is a legitimate competition for DeAndre Swift's top backup. Is the QB2 battle a thing? Because I think it's pretty clear the RB2 battle is real. Is backup quarterback? Because again, it is listed as Bagent or Rypien, and Rypien had a great game in the Hall of Fame game, whereas Bagent only played one drive. That would actually indicate that Bagent has a pretty big lead, in my opinion, so I think that's worth mentioning. But Rypien looked the part, man. He really did. 11 of 15, $166, 3 touchdowns. No turnovers, didn't put the ball in harm's way. You know, kind of showed off the full arsenal, downfield throwing, intermediate, stepping up in the pocket, evading to make a throw here and there. That being said, I'm not ready to call this a battle. Brett Rypien talked after the game. He kind of seems to know his role here. He's the veteran in the room. But I think he also deep down is kind of like, played pretty well. I'd like to have the opportunity to win the backup job. I will say this, regardless of how this plays out. Like, let's say he's unbelievable the rest of camp, clearly outplays Bagent in the preseason games. I still think Bagent's on this team almost no matter what, unless he's just horrific in the preseason games, which I don't think any of us expect that, because he's a UDFA guy who can play. We saw him go 2-2 last year. Regardless of how it looked like, he held his own. Those guys at that cheap of a price tag in the QB room are worth it. It's really more of, A, who's the backup? Well, A, will Rypien also make the 53? And if he does, who would go in if Caleb Williams were to go down in a game? Is Ryp the backup or is Bagent? That's really the question. But in terms of, like, is this a competition right now? Who would make the team right now? Is that actually a discussion? I think Bagent's safe almost no matter what. The question is, can Rypien keep pushing to the point where they carry 3 QBs and he would actually be the backup if an injury were to take place? That is the question I have. All right, shout out to Game Time for sponsoring Chicago Bears, now our ticketing sponsor here at Chat Sports. And what they specialize in is last-minute tickets because, look, sometimes you wake up, at least I do, and I'm like, I look over to my wife, and I'm like, you want to go to a concert tonight? You want to go to a comedy show? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, so do I. I'm going to hop on the Game Time app and try to find some tickets. So do what I did. Download the Game Time app. Use promo code ChatSports. Get you $20 off your first purchase only. Terms apply there. Start surfing around in your area. If you live in the Chicago area, if you live somewhere else, go look at events in your area, sporting events, concerts, comedy shows. See what deals are available. They're going to show you the best prices available. They're going to show you the best deals available based on kind of value with certain seats in the stadium or arena. If you wait till kind of the day of the event, a lot of the time tickets will drop because they're trying to put butts in seats. It's awesome. I did it with the Home Run Derby, did it with the National Championship game a couple of years ago, day of purchasing, and got a better deal. Those prices did drop, and that's my advice to you. Download Game Time today, create an account, use code ChatSports to get $20 off your first purchase only. Terms apply, and you can use your Venmo balance to buy tickets. How awesome is that? A lot of you guys probably just have extra money floating around your Venmo like I usually do. Check it out. It's game time. It's awesome. Best ticketing app out there. Link in the comments and description to redirect you to the App Store to download the app today. All right, depth chart takeaway number 4. Is Velus Jones a lock to make this football team? If I'm answering my own question, I think I have to say no. I think it's too early and premature to say that. But a couple of things have stood out to me in the last few days. One, from the depth chart, listed as a top 6 receiver. I do think this team carries 6. And he's a starting option as both the kick and punt returner. Now, at kick returner, it says Velus Jones or DeAndre Carter. At punt returner, it says DeAndre Carter or Velus Jones. Obviously, we've all seen the issues with Velus as a punt returner, but that would indicate they're at least considering him there again. And certainly, and we've said this all along, he is this team's best kickoff returner, especially with the new rules. I think a bigger physical return man who also has speed is the most ideal scenario. Now, is that enough to give him a roster spot if he's not contributing in other areas? I don't know. It really depends when they have those combos at Halasal. Like, hey, we don't trust him on offense, but he's such a good kick returner, we're going to keep him. I would like to see him give you something on offense, but I'll add this too. Him sitting against the Texans was odd. Now, there's a lot of theories out there. One, he's just a roster lock. He's safe. 2, he's not a lock, but if he does make the team, the Bears face the Texans in week 2. They don't want to give away what they're doing at kickoff return. I guess my response to that would be like, okay, well then just don't have him return kicks in this preseason game. You could have still evaluated him at the receiver position or even punt return. That was odd. I'm curious to see how he plays against Buffalo, assuming he'll be out there. But I think Locke is strong, but I do think they think he's the best option at kick returner, and I would agree with that. I think his skill set translates to this new kickoff rule really, really well. Do you think he's a lock? Is Velus Jones a lock to make the Bears 53-man roster? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I think he's safe right now. I can't say he's a lock. I'd have to type my N for no, but if you ask me today, does he make this team? I would say yes. Okay, and this isn't necessarily like new information, but the defensive line is thin, guys. Like, you just see it on paper, and you're just like, this is a thin group. It's not new, but it is real. Man, like I would really like to add a piece here. Now, I get it. You got to be patient. You can't force the issue if you're Ryan Poles. But I'm checking the market. I'm seeing what Matt Judon costs. I'm considering Yannick Ngakoue if he's cheap. If a notable veteran defensive tackle gets cut out of camp, I'm definitely interested. I mean, let's just start there. Defensive tackle. Andrew Billings, Gervon Dexter, and Zach Pickens are your top 3. Pickens didn't look that good at all in the Hall of Fame game. He had, I think, 1 decent run stop. Byron Carr had a strip sack, but you're talking against deep backups. He's probably your 4th DT right now. Billings is solid. Dexter, at worst is at least decent, and they're hoping he could be really good. So if he hits, that definitely helps. But then you get to edge, and again, it's Montez Sweat, decent player in DeMarcus Walker, and then a bunch of question marks. We all like Austin Booker's potential, but that's all it is right now. Jake Martin is fine as a rotation speed guy, but you're pretty thin up front on your defense. Like, don't get me wrong, we've talked a lot about the offensive line concerns, and that's real, but it's very true with the defensive line also. All right, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button here on Chicago Bears Now. We'll continue to plug out videos here on this channel, as Bears Now by Chat Sports is your home on YouTube for Chicago Bears content. Shout out to everybody who made it to the end of this episode. And shout out to Michael Horowitz. Boom! He says, I'm just happy we got out of that game with no injury. What did he say? Dante has to go. Yeah, Pettis. I would give him the game on the 10th. I also have concerns about the O-line. I still feel like putting Caleb behind them can be dangerous. On the other hand, he played behind a shit line at USC. Now, last part's a good point. He was running for his life last year at USC. That doesn't mean you should want that to be the case. I do wonder, and I expect him to play against Buffalo, but I do wonder, Cullen, if we get to Thursday, Friday, and 2 or 3 offensive line starters can't go, like, do they just hold him out again? I mean, do you put him out there with one or two starters? Like, as much as I think he needs to play and want him to play, how much value is there in him playing with your 8th, 9th, and 10th offensive linemen potentially? Like, I get it. That could happen in the regular season, but is it worth the risk in early August?
No.
I don't know. I think in that scenario, I'd probably hold him out, which would suck, but we'll see. A lot of time between now and Saturday, but see how it plays out. Michael, I don't have the helmet in here, but we'll get a couple of stickers, and I'm going to sync up with you this week about getting you on a live mailbag episode and figuring out what we want to do with those tickets, so stay tuned for that. All right, can I get a bear down in the chat right now? Need some positive vibes here. Shout out to everybody, Boom and Michael Horowitz as well. Shout out to the real ones. You can leave. I'll just get them later. We're good. Michael, I'll get those stickers on for you later. Ricky, so apparently Rappaport and Pelissero went on NFL Network, Cullen, and said no trade is in place for Ayuk. Ricky quote tweeted it and said, putting my reputation on the line that there will be a trade.
I mean, dude,
he's all in.
He is all in.
I think he is willing to say, like, if I miss this one, like, I'm done.
Well, he's already retired. So, like, what does he have to lose?
That does kind of throw a wrench in, like.
Just a little bit.
It's a bit of a hedge.
Yeah. I mean, like.
Do you guys trust Pretty Ricky? Y for yes and for no in the comments. Y for yes and for no in the comments. And if you don't know Pretty Ricky, say, I don't know who that is. He's the people's insider.
The one and only.
The one and only. That's exactly right. Oh, man. Man, oh, man. Check something real quick. Tell you what, I talked about Ayuk trade buzz and Justin Fields on 4 Verts earlier today. This video's popping. Oh, look who it is.
Oh, ho, ho.
Michael Horowitz.
Shout out to you, brother.
Man.
Hey. Shout out to you, Michael.
No. Dude, apparently, so you know how Petey's dad flies? Mm-hmm. Apparently, Sam just missed, like, they were already in the air by the time Sam missed his flight in Chicago. Otherwise, they would have given him a lift. How sick would that have been for him to fly back with Petey?
Yeah, that would have been
a dope experience. Michael says, no, Pretty Ricky, LMAO. No, not a Pretty Ricky guy, Horowitz? Do you know who we're talking about? He's putting his reputation on the line, he says. Putting his reputation on the line.
Yeah. And hey, if he's right and Ayuk gets traded, it is one of the all-time days on NFL Twitter.
Yes.
It is going to be insane.
Yeah, I mean, what are people like? What's Rap going to come back with on NFL Network and say?
Yeah.
It changed.
We were wrong.
Pretty Ricky strikes again.
Yeah.
Don't know who that is. Well, Pretty Ricky on Twitter. He's broken some stories this offseason, man. He calls himself the People's Insider. So take that for what it's worth. All right. An interesting NFL news item that's been circulating in recent days. I want to talk about how it benefits the Chicago Bears. And no, this is not Brandon Ayuk trade buzz, although if he gets traded to the AFC, that definitely benefits the Bears. Let's talk about it here on Chicago Bears Now. The Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles just got great news. Welcome into Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. No, they're not signing a player, at least that I know of. No, they're not making a trade of a big player, at least that I know of. No, this isn't Brandon Ayuk related. This is the NFL potentially going to 18 games. Now, Lloyd Howell, NFLPA executive, said this recently. We have talked at a very, very high level, specifically with recognition about, yeah, this is something that we should be talking about, and we should really kick the tires and understand what else goes into that decision-making process in terms of potentially adding an 18th game. Tweet from the Washington Post recently said that the NFLPA has engaged in high-level discussions with the NFL about potential implementation of an 18-game regular season, NFLPA executive director said. You also have Roger Goodell, who's kind of been on a campaign recently, pushing for 18 games, talking about that. Joe Burrow, I think this is when it really got interesting. A current NFL player, because, a lot of times, player safety, why would we add games? A current NFL player with an injury history making a push for 18 games as well. And we'll get to why he probably is in favor with that in a moment. Lloyd Howell, once again here, saying, the simple fact of the matter is when you have a growing enterprise and there are opportunities within that intervening period of time when progress could be made and you could tweak the existing CBA legal document, why wouldn't you want to do that? I call it bargaining. I call it amendments. I call it updates to what is now a living document called the CBA. Yeah, I want to be able to have our membership in a position to jump on it when we can, not wait until their playing days are done, and it's like you go through the cycle all over again. I'll just say this right now. I bet by 2027, we have an 18-game regular season. So, next year feels quick. You'd probably have to make that determination by, Thanksgiving to really put that in place because, it probably alters the offseason at least a little bit. Preseason probably gets altered, etc. So that feels rich, but I think by 27, within the next 3 years, an 18-game regular season comes into play. And you're probably saying, Harrison, you said at the top, this is great news for the Bears. Well, I'm going to tell you why it's great news for the Bears here in just a second. It's what they call a tease in the business. But first, help us out. Subscribe when there's big news, rumors, and other storylines out there, Bears and NFL related. We cover it for free for you. Hit that subscribe button, trying to get to 96,000 subscribers before Bears-Bills preseason game on Saturday. So be sure to lock us in. Okay, so why this helps the Chicago Bears? It's pretty simple. It's all money related. More games equals a bigger salary cap and more money for teams to work with and general managers to play with. It just gives you more flexibility to swing big if you're Ryan Poles, who is very articulate on when he makes big moves. Like, he's not a overspender, but I think he'd be willing to take more chances, which he certainly has taken some. Like, he traded for Montez Sweat. That one worked out. He paid him. Trade for Chase Claypool. That one did not. It's not like he doesn't make moves at all, but it would give him more incentive to potentially swing big with there being a little less risk of it severely costing you. You look at some recent years and what the salary cap has looked like. It's jumped quite a bit most years. The only year it didn't take at least about an 8% jump was the COVID year, and it still went up. Like, people thought it was going to go down. It actually went up. It went down in 21 after the COVID year, 8%, but then it almost doubled the next year in percentage increase. In the last 2 years, it's gone up a bit, and new TV money is going to kick in, and it's going to keep going up, especially with Netflix and Amazon, all these people getting involved. And when you do quick math, $255.4 million divided by 18 is about 14.5, I believe. I did the math earlier, 14.5 million per game. So, like, with how much it already goes up every year, I mean, an 18th game could add an extra 15 to 20 million alone in salary cap space. I mean, 20 million bucks, let's say. I mean, that's a high-level player you could sign. That's 3 or 4 role players you could sign. That could be the difference in keeping a key player as he gets older rather than cutting him loose. So that's pretty significant for all teams, but especially the Bears, who have been smart with their money at this point in time. Then all of a sudden, they could have a huge influx of cap space to really swing big in the next few years if this does get implemented into the new schedule, an extra game here. More reasons it benefits Chicago in a moment, but first, something that will benefit you is saving money when you buy your tickets, and that is what the Game Time app offers. Last-minute tickets for the lowest price guaranteed, and they mean that. If you see a lower price of a ticket in the same section and row on a different ticketing service, take a screenshot of it, send it to Game Time. They will lower the price on their app for you. Download the Game Time app today. Use our code ChatSports. Get you $20 off your first purchase only. Terms do apply there. And go check out the Cubbies at Wrigley. Cubs White Sox coming up later this week as well. You've got Bears preseason action, concerts, comedy shows, all kinds of stuff. Get out of the house and get the best prices with Game Time. And what they also do in their app as well is it's really easy to navigate just through their app, and it's really searchable. You can search by team, city, etc. List form, visual form. If you want to look at specific seats and where they're going to be in the arena or stadium, they've got that for you as well. They're going to show you the best current deals in real time, flash deals, zone deals that pop up as they try to fill seats for these events. Check out Game Time today. Code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase only after you download and create an account with Game Time. Link is in the comments and description to click and download the Game Time app right now. All right, point number 2, and the Bears haven't been in this situation in a while, really since Jay Cutler, but it makes absorbing a high-paid quarterback easier because, you know, what's the theory everyone always talks about? Well, if you have a really good quarterback on a rookie deal, that is when to strike and try to win a Super Bowl because he's not taking up a big chunk of your cap. Well, if the cap goes up, yes, the QBs will make more, but it may not be as egregious of a percentage of your cap as it is right now. And look, we haven't even seen Caleb Williams play a game yet, so we obviously got to see this play out. But by the time he is extension eligible, he might cost $70 million per year if he hits. Again, don't be like, Harrison, he hasn't played a game yet. I already acknowledged that. If he's good, though, if he's a top 10 guy, by the time we get to the end of year 3 when he's extension eligible, he is going to cost a lot of money. Tua Tagovailoa, who I don't think is a top 10 quarterback, just got $53 million per year. Now, I think that was a dumb deal by Miami. But that's what these teams do, man. And if Caleb's going to cost 65, 70 plus million bucks, well, an increasing cap would certainly help you take that blow a little bit easier. So certainly would be a beneficiary as well for Ryan Poles and his staff moving forward. And then thirdly, it would make cutting bad contracts easier. Like taking on more dead cap money wouldn't be as difficult to navigate as an organization. Like when the Bears in Poles' first year just got rid of all these bad deals, I mean, they were just acknowledging we got no shot this year. Now, I'm not saying with an increased salary cap they would have anyway. I think Poles was acknowledging a teardown and kind of tanked without tanking, signed a bunch of cheap deals and, you know, kind of accepted sucking year 1. But if you wanted to kind of do like a transition year and cut some aging players, you'd still have at least some cap space flexibility, even if you took on some dead money. Or look, let's face it. Let's say, for example, the Bears had extended Chase Claypool after trading for him or that offseason before he got cut the next year. You could cut him and be like, you know what, we're just going to take the dead money because he's just that bad to be around as a team. So the bottom line to all this stuff is it's about money. The Bears are entering a win-now window. They may have to pay a quarterback in the next few years. And if a cap boost comes into play, then you can really start to take swings if you're Ryan Poles. It just gives you more flexibility and less risk to do so. So it's exciting to think about. I think this is going to happen in the next few years. Like I said, by 2027, who knows? Could be right around when the Bears get a new stadium as well. Do you want an extra game, an 18-game regular season? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I go back and forth, but listen, I'm never going to complain about more football, especially real football, not preseason football. And that kind of comes to this in terms of what I would do. I would trim the preseason down to 2 weeks. And hell, I think 1 week would be fine. Just do a these teams care more about training camp anyway. Keep training camp the same, play 1-2 exhibition games, and then get the season going. Like, these teams, for the most part, will tell you, yeah, we do our evaluating in practice at camp. These games don't mean a ton at this point in time. So go to 2 weeks, 18-game regular season, extra bye week. I do think the players would need to push for that, and I think they would. And I think the NFL would also agree to that because then it's a 20-week season. Like, it's a win-win for everybody. And by the way, if you're one of those, the players get screwed because of health, they'll sign off on this. And you know why? Because more money in their pockets. Sure, more money for the owners too, but the players want more money. And if an extra game means that, I think yeah, they're going to sign up for it at the end of the day. All right. Also subscribe to my other channel, 4 Verts. We talk about the NFL as a whole, so stories like this could be covered over there. Recently talked about Brandon Ayuk, Justin Fields stuff, as there's been a lot of buzz around those 2 players as of late. Going to work in some college football as well. YouTube.com/@4Verts. That is the place to come subscribe to my brand new NFL and college football YouTube channel. All right, here he is again. Shout out Michael Horowitz. He says he's more like 80 a year, thinking how they're fumbled the bag on the Cutler deal. I would tread lightly. I mean, look, the Bears are not going to make him the highest paid quarterback unless they're very sure. And that's why you can't extend these guys until they're 3 years in. So we will have an answer 3 years in. That's why they traded Justin Fields. It's not because they didn't think there was a chance he could become a really good player. I still think there's a chance he could at least be a good starter. It's that 3 years in, they didn't have an answer. And if you don't have an answer 3 years in, you should probably pivot, especially if you were in the Bears situation, you have the number 1 pick. So that kind of made it an easy decision. But, yeah, Michael, if you're unsure after 3 years, you'll probably let the 4th year play out, or you'll pivot or whatever. So that's kind of what that is. All right, good show today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We got something?
Breaking Connor Williams news.
Did he sign with Seattle?
No, it's
Ravens
today.
He visited the Ravens.
Considering both the Ravens and Seahawks proposals right now and should make a decision soon. So, unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to Chicago.
Yeah.
But Baltimore now getting in the mix for Connor Williams.
It does show, though, like, if the Bears wanted to hop in, I don't think that door would be completely shut. But, by the way, though, if he's going to Baltimore, I think that's to play guard. They're not moving Linderbaum.
No.
And Rosenhaus did say that he wants to play center, so I would guess Baltimore would have to offer more money for him to play guard.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, too, maybe for Connor Williams, I mean, listen, I love Seattle as much as the next guy.
If you're trying to ring chase, Baltimore's the place to go.
Option, exactly. So they're in a better spot right now.
Man, he could just be driving up that price, too.
Could be.
Taking it back to Seattle, say, hey, I want to play center, but they've offered me this. You're going to have to bring up that price tag. Gerald, that's not true. He said there's negotiations, but nothing's official there. Pro Football Talk. Nothing's finalized. All right, one more super chat from Anthony. Appreciate the $2, my friend. Shout out to Horowitz for balling out again today. He's a real one. You are too, Anthony. Everybody else tuning in and all that stuff. All right, thanks to everybody for rocking and rolling with us. I do think we'll go live on Hard Knocks tomorrow night, or after Hard Knocks tomorrow night here on the channel, so be on the lookout for that. Shout out to Cullen for producing, and we will see you guys soon. Bear down.